Hello and welcome on VideoBourse. I am happy to invite and to have Yoni ASSIA, CEO of eToro, one of the big brokers around the world, maybe one of the biggest for sure. I don't know exactly, but we also have a market who move a lot, traditional market, new market, etc. What we can say is that eToro is one of the big players, and I am happy to have you, Yoni.
Thank you very much for having me. How are you?
Fine. So we will talk mainly about crypto. I see that you wear a T-shirt with "hodl," the famous sentence. So we can already know your point of view.
So we started dealing with cryptocurrency back in 2010. We looked at the technology and were quite amazed, as back then we were already a regulated financial institution, and we trade quite a lot with the largest banks in the world, both traditional currencies, but also stocks, commodities, indices. And we understand that the existing financial services industry, while in theory it's all a digital industry, it's still very, very much fragmented. And the systems, the entire financial systems, especially cross-border, so financial institutions from different countries, don't communicate that well. And things are not the way they should be in theory from a computer science point of view, or computer engineering. And when we looked at Bitcoin originally and the architecture of the blockchain, I was simply amazed. It felt like the first days back in, I think, 95, 96, when I saw the internet for the first time and started going into BBS's bulletin boards. This was a very similar feeling. And since then, we've been excited about the potential disruption for the global financial services industry from the underlying technology blockchain, and specifically from the asset class of cryptocurrencies. So we added eventually Bitcoin into the eToro trading platform in 2014, but it took about 3 years before it really took off. Only in 2017, we moved from 2% of customers on eToro trading crypto.
Okay, so it seems that it disconnect. I guess they will come back. As we target and we speak to the French audience, I will take minutes to translate it in French. Yes, Yoni, you. I don't know what's happened.
Fine. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you.
Perfect.
So yes, I will quickly translate to the French audience, as my audience is mainly French. They understand English for the main part, but I will just take a little time. Yoni a juste dit, voilà, rappeler l'histoire d'eToro, qu'à la base c'était un courtier multi-asset qui, comme on le sait, hein, je pense que la plupart des traders connaissent, eToro propose donc les actions, les indices, le forex. Ils se sont rapidement, dès 2014, tournés vers les crypto-monnaies et senti qu'il y avait quelque chose de nouveau et qui permettait de connecter deux mondes qui ne se parlaient pas trop, donc le côté technologique et le côté financier, qui maintenant est vraiment quelque chose de très développé. Et bien sûr, il y a eu l'explosion en 2017, on en était là. Donc voilà, eToro est donc un des gros acteurs de cette transition. L'idée, donc, ça va être petit à petit d'avoir le point de vue de Yoni ASSIA. So, yes, Yoni, so 2017 was a crazy year. At the beginning of the year 2017, we made an interview. The Bitcoin were at $800, and you were really bullish after the year was crazy. And I guess for you at eToro, it was a crazy year because you were one of the first big broker to propose this kind of asset. So how did you live 2017 as a broker? I guess it was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we have grown more than 600% over the past 2 years, from 2016 to 2018. So we've seen a significant amount of growth coming both from stock trading on eToro, but a lot coming also from cryptocurrencies in 2017. So we were definitely at the right time with the right product offering. Offering probably still today the simplest way for people to invest in cryptocurrencies.
Okay, so 2017, the crypto become open to everybody, but in 2018 it was a bad year, and we saw the market go down, and in the same time we had the futures on the Bitcoin. It seems that Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies became bigger and bigger, but we saw the prices go down. What is your point of view as a big actor? Why do you think that 2018 were that bad? Do you think it was a bubble? Yes. What is your point of view about last year?
First of all, I think it is the definition of a bubble. And there was no doubt that there was a bubble, and the bubble burst. One of the definitions of capital markets and how they work is booms and busts. So I was sort of born into capital markets, into the .com bubble. And that was where a lot of people sort of got excited about the internet and got excited about technology. But at some point, just numbers didn't make sense, and investments became sort of too quick and maybe even too easy, leading to more investments that are too easy. And I think we saw generally really the same thing happening in crypto. People made, so you told me that Bitcoin started the year at $800. It went to 8,000, that's 10x, went then to 16,000, that's 20x. We saw Ethereum on our platform go from $8 to $400, then to $1,200. We saw XRP going from 5 cents on the platform to $3. And I think a lot of people who made a lot of money in a short period of time, what they do when that happens is they keep on investing. So people made money maybe 5x or 50x on ICOs. So they kept on taking their profits and investing them more and more, and that created a bubble. And bubbles are bound to burst. That's just how the markets work. And we saw that in the .com bubble. And it didn't mean that the internet wouldn't become what it is now today. And the fact that the crypto bubble burst, and in 2018, basically markets became more rational, doesn't mean that the crypto revolution won't happen. It just means it's going to take a while longer. And really what makes the revolution is eventually adoption. And we're still at very early stages of adoption. So a lot of what happened around crypto was speculation. People speculating on a deflationary fixed amount cryptocurrencies sort of versus fiat. People started comparing Bitcoin into national currencies, but there's still very few payment options with Bitcoin compared to traditional fiat money. So, and by the way, very similar to 99 and 98 with the .com bubble. Everybody looked at the internet and said there's a huge potential in the billions of people who will connect to the internet, and therefore will have huge potential of eventually advertising and e-commerce. But that didn't yet happen in the year 2000, and that led to the bubble burst, and eventually took about back then it took about 15 years to get the Nasdaq back to 5,000. Hopefully this time around, since the world is bigger, there are more people connected to the internet, more people know what cryptocurrency is, we won't have to wait 15 years.
Okay. So you launch many projects right now. You have a GoodDollars. GoodDollar. I will share the link. GoodDollar is a concept that you created, and you have the idea to link the universal income and the crypto world. This is what I understood, but I guess you will present it way better than me.
Sure. 1 second. Let me just upload the website for a second.
Yes, and during you do that, I will also say that I share one link on the chat is the account of Yoni ASSIA, because eToro is famous for copy trading, and Yoni publish his position, etc. So this is interesting, and this is also a big specificity of the eToro offer, to copy other people, but also with the copy phones, to copy big strategy. So it can be the strategy of Warren Buffett, Carl Icahn. You have also panic mode, etc. So you can discover it with this link.
Perfect. And of course, your audience is more than welcome to look at the eToro platform. You can see here the different market portfolios, whether it's like stuff like Outsmart NASDAQ, where we're using machine learning to beat the NASDAQ index, or mobile payments, which is focused really on the entire ecosystem of mobile payments, traditional mobile payments, not crypto mobile payments. So we have a lot of these strategies, portfolios that people can copy. And of course, as you mentioned, being able to see hundreds of thousands of investors on the eToro platform, and you can actually go and see what they're actually trading, what's in their portfolios, their track record, and then of course copy them. Now you asked a bit about the GoodDollar. So this is the GoodDollar.org. The GoodDollar is it's a non-profit project that we're supporting. I started personally writing about the concept of the GoodDollar back in 2008. So actually before the invention of Bitcoin. And the idea behind the GoodDollar was that there needs to be a disruption to how money is being distributed and generated. So when I founded eToro and learned more and more about how currencies work, both from a systems point of view and also the problematic part of sort of money. So I'm a big fan of economics, reading things like Adam Smith and Marx and Keynes. And what I think is one of the biggest issues in the world is a very simple thing that everybody who understands how capitalism works wouldn't understand, is that the rich get richer and poor get poorer. And that leads to a growing inequality in society, and eventually increase of inequality in society leads to very bad things. And the reason, by definition, the way the system works leads to inequality is how money is being distributed and how money is being generated. So just as a quick example, if we'll assume for a second that interest rate plus inflation is 10% a year, and we know that the 10% of the population own 90% of the wealth, then when those 10%, then the interest rate, the additional 10% being printed every year, basically the addition of 9% would go to the richest 10%, and only 1% would go to the rest of the 90%. And that's basically just because of how interest rate and inflation work, and that is because money has never been on the blockchain. So while I was not aware that there was going to be an invention called the blockchain back in 2008, that's also one of the reasons I got excited when I originally saw Bitcoin, and even more excited when we...
Okay. Donc, oui, comme vous pouvez le voir, on a un peu de soucis de connexion. Donc, c'est le live, c'est pas toujours évident de créer des connexions stables, etc. Et je vais profiter de la pause juste pour te dire, yes, Yoni, I see you. So, yes, we understood until the end, and now I see you. Good.
Perfect. So when we sort of got very excited about the potential of issuing new assets tokenized.
Je sais pas pourquoi on a ces soucis. On fait au mieux. Je profite juste pour traduire un petit peu donc l'idée de GoodDollar. Je vais vous mettre le lien vers le site de GoodDollar. C'est principalement de proposer un concept de revenu universel. L'idée est donc de proposer quelque chose de concret par rapport à des discussions qu'on a souvent, des réflexions qu'on a souvent, qu'on peut lire dans des livres. Enfin, je ne sais pas, par exemple, si vous regardez le livre de Thomas Piketty. Yes, Yoni?
Yes, Yoni. So we thought about how a cryptocurrency can change the world for the better. And the concept is quite simple. So if you think about this problem of inequality, and this is like a very big statement that the 42 richest people in the world own more wealth than the poorest 3.7, or the fact that 10% of the population own roughly 90% of the wealth, then if you could create mechanics within cryptocurrency that creates better wealth distribution, potentially you could improve significantly inequality, basically creating the world more equal, which means more people can participate in the economy. Now, when we initially started working on this project, we read a lot about the concept of universal basic income, and we realized we're actually talking about something that's very similar. The concept of universal basic income is traditionally something that's more local, right? So some governments have been testing it on cities or on some experiments in some states. But the concept is, if you give people free money, then you have less poor people, and those people who receive that daily or monthly basic income are able to actually come out of the poverty trap. And a nice way to explain that to people is think about playing Monopoly with friends, where you have a couple of friends who don't receive any money at the beginning of the game. They simply can't play the game, so they lose the game before even they're starting the game. The concept of UBI is to make sure that players actually get some money to start the game, so they can actually start accumulating wealth or building buildings, etc. If that's in Monopoly, in life, it's get education, get work, and basically start your economic life, be a part of the economy. So the way it works, there are basically 3 different pillars for the GoodDollar. It's actually quite simple to understand. Think about Bitcoin, but with sort of 2 very big differences. One is your social identity is connected to your wallet or to the blockchain. So one of the problems with Bitcoin, it's obviously a big part also of the innovation of Bitcoin, but the reason a lot of governments are worried about crypto assets is that it is disconnected from identity, that it's anonymous. And people say because it's anonymous, people can use it to do bad things. Where in the GoodDollar, we are basically creating a social identity. So when you log into the GoodDollar or set up an account, you actually identify yourself into the blockchain using your real name, and then get verified by other people who say you are actually who you say you are. So that's one very big difference between GoodDollar and Bitcoin, is the fact it's connected to your social identity. The second part is the social distribution. If you think about Bitcoin mining, then basically miners need to buy hardware, and then the inflation actually goes to those who protect the hash rate or the security of the blockchain, and they receive basically the inflation, which was used to be higher, and every 4 years the inflation rate goes down. In the GoodDollar, what we did is we based it on John Rawls' theory of justice. So we tried to think, what is the most fair way to distribute, basically, inflation. And what we came up with is the best way to distribute inflation is to give it to those who have the least. So we created a formula that basically says that if you have less than others, right? So if you're from the 50% of the poorest people in the good dollar economy, you're able to claim everyday good dollars. So instead of mining by buying hardware, you're mining by having your identity on the blockchain and by claiming daily UBI or your daily sort of good dollars that you're getting to be a part of the ecosystem with currently suggested fixed inflation rate of 10% a year. And what that does, and that's actually quite obvious, there's a way to actually measure wealth inequality called the Gini index. And entities like World Bank and World Economic Forum and UNICEF, a lot of non-profits organizations are trying to improve inequality, but they really aren't able to push the Gini index significantly. But when you run something like the good dollar for consecutive 10 years, then it completely changes the Gini coefficient. And the reason is very simple. Think about taking 10% of an economy and then distributing it, and instead of 9% to the richest and 1% to all the rest, you take the entire 10% and give it to the poorest people in the economy. And that's really the second pillar of the good dollar. So it's a fairer system. It's a cryptocurrency which is fairer, therefore good, and connected to identity. Therefore, you can't do bad stuff with good dollars because everything is connected to your identity. And a lot of our efforts are going into researching how to build this also in a purely decentralized way. So we're trying to build it to be, from one end, a simple user interface so people can actually connect to it to solve one of the challenges of the blockchain, which is mass adoption, because people actually don't have the knowledge of how to use crypto assets. But on the other hand, actually build something that's truly decentralized, or ideally as decentralized as Bitcoin, because we understand that for something like this to actually succeed, it needs to scale on a much wider scale than eToro.
Okay, so yes, it seems really to be a good project. Recently, I wrote a book about those kind of inequality, and the famous one from Thomas Piketty. I don't know, maybe you.
Yeah.
And so it's this kind of statistic. So yes, sure, it's a good project, and you do something in this way. I guess it can interest a lot of people. Is it yet open, or what it will be? It will be like an ICO, or it will be a token, or $1 with.
So it is going to be a token or smart contract. So we're building everything in a decentralized manner. So everything is going to be built into the smart contract. It's not really an ICO that we're doing. We're simply launching a smart contract and an app on top of the smart contract to enable people to convert Ethereum into good dollars, and then good dollars back into Ethereum. So people can actually invest in the DAO. Again, you can think about this as social impact investing. So people are investing in something that, if it succeeds, can improve inequality and maybe have hundreds of millions of people use it. But there's also a mechanism to actually avoid speculation. So the currency can't go more than 40% up a year. So what it does eventually, if a lot of people invest in the good dollar, then the price is actually capped at some certain threshold of going up. And the minute more and more people invest in it, it actually goes back to the sort of reserve of the smart contract. Now, this is all sort of mechanics of how smart contracts work, because we're trying to build this really as something that's decentralized. So we're not raising money to it like an ICO where money goes to some team to develop it. Right now, eToro is sponsoring the development of this nonprofit project, and we are actually working with several other interested companies to help us basically support and build it.
Okay, it seems really interesting. I already follow it on the social networks. I let the link, and people can find everything about GoodDollar on the website. Do you have an idea of the timing where the project will be launched, or not yet?
We're looking at launching it in the next 6 to 9 months. We call it the first GoodDollar experiment. So we definitely look at this as something that's experimental, based on code and based on a lot of research that we're doing. So we have a couple of academics on the team, both from computer sciences, actually legal and regulation, and economics. And we'll be launching the first GoodDollar experiment within the next 9 months. Okay,
maybe you will talk about it. I don't know, because I see that you will come in Paris for a big event at the end of the month.
Yeah.
I will be also as a media there, so maybe we will see us. And
Perfect.
There is really main political people at this event, like Christine Lagarde, French minister, Bruno Le Maire. We have also the minister of the finance of Luxembourg. So really big people. Do you know what you will talk about there? Maybe about GoodDollar or about eToro in general?
So I'm speaking on a panel about the future of crypto assets. I do believe, as you can very well understand, both in sort of the cryptocurrencies themselves, like Bitcoin and Ethereum. I'm a big believer in tokenized assets, such as stable coins and STOs, and tokenizing existing financial assets. And I'm a very big believer in new type of innovative assets that create a paradigm shift to how we think about money and how money is being generated, like the GoodDollar. So that's definitely something I'm going to talk about in the panel about crypto assets. And I'm looking forward for the Paris FinTech Forum also to meet a lot of the people that you've mentioned, and obviously talk more about how blockchain and sort of the crypto revolution can be used to benefit humanity and to improve the world.
Okay, it will be interesting. And one other thing that you launched recently is eToroX. So it's okay, on eToro you already can buy and sell cryptocurrency, but eToro exchange is really built on the same idea that an exchange. So what is the idea specifically about eToroX? It's the idea that you can take out your crypto on your wallet, or there is also other differences between eToroX and eToro classical?
Sure. So
Alors, excusez-nous, hein, il y a vraiment des difficultés de connexion. On fait au mieux et j'essaierai de retravailler tout ça au propre par la suite.
Basically get them directly into crypto, where they can actually send and receive those crypto to other customers. So you need to remember that the eToro platform, in essence, is a multi-asset trading platform where you can trade stocks, commodities, indices, currencies, and cryptocurrencies, where these new products are very blockchain focused. So the wallet is a blockchain based, which means everything is on the chain, multi-signature, multi-blockchain wallet. So you have multi-blockchains like Bitcoin and Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash and XRP. You have there, everything is on chain, so you can actually see your money by logging into other explorers, and it's secured by a multi-signature architecture. eToroX is what we're building is our exchange. So it's meant more for advanced traders. You obviously have an order book. We're going to have hundreds of pairs on the eToroX exchange platform. and you'll be able to trade basically either as a market maker or a market taker on the books themselves. And if you're a sophisticated trader and understand how to trade the depth of a market, or if you want to arbitrage structure for moving eToro from the traditional financial world to the new financial world of blockchain. So if you think about the next 2 years for eToro, it's moving from a traditional, we're still a fintech and innovative company, but based on sort of pre-blockchain infrastructure, and we're moving the infrastructure of eToro onto the blockchain, and the eToro wallet and the eToroX exchange are sort of the first steps in that movement.
Okay, so I let the link to eToroX. Is it already launched? I know that there is also an application of eToro Exchange, but for the moment, from my side, I only use classical eToro, so I didn't really check. Is it already launched or not yet? Do you still work on eToroX?
The eToro wallet is already launched, and you're very welcome to test it and to work with it. The eToro exchange, eToroX, is currently launched in beta. So it's been offered to a selected customer base of eToro that actually registered to be a part of the beta. And right now we're adding more and more features every week. Before we open Hi, Fabian, can you hear me?
Yes. So just sorry, I don't know exactly what's happening. What I will do is that I will write an article and translate it in French about all the answers that we did, because the connection wasn't easy. But I think that all what we talked about is really interesting. So yes.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you very much.
So yes, just to finish, what is your analysis for 2019? Do you think that it will be a good year for the crypto? I mean, in terms of price, or do you think that for the moment people are too afraid to get back, and the price will continue to have volatility, but not really bull trend?
So one thing is for sure, we're going to see more volatility. So that thing, I'm almost certain. You can never be certain of anything in life other than death and taxes. But I'm certain to a high level of degree that we are going to see volatility in the market, and that is because it's driven by retail demand and by retail interest and retail speculation. So traditional capital markets are less volatile because you have a very large proportion of the markets held by institutional investors who all want market stability. And sort of traditional older generations were always looking at stability as a key factor, and that's also the reasons older generations preferred fixed income to stocks. But if you think about the crypto market and the fact that we don't know who the owners are, they're coming from all around the world, from the Americas to Europe to Asia, that changes in regulations can have significant impact on either, by the way, either for better or for worse for crypto, then I'm certain we're going to see significant amounts of volatility, which means we're going to see it going up, we're going to see it going down within 2019. My intuition, and again, that's a much less level of certainty, and I'm saying especially because I Hi, can you hear me, Fabian?
Yes. So I saw you said your intuition.
Yeah. So my intuition is that we're going to end 2019 at better and higher prices than 2018. But I'm saying that with a big grain of salt because I'm very much in love in blockchain technology and crypto assets. And I think it's a disruptive force, which means I'm very biased. And the 2018 actually took me by surprise. So I was surprised by the force and sort of impact of the bear market and how significant it was and still is. So I did not think back in May, June, I did not think we're going to see Bitcoin at 3,500 again. I never thought we're going to see Ethereum under 100 again. And we definitely did see it and are seeing it. So if you're cautious, you need to make sure that you understand the risks of these markets. So Bitcoin is something that could easily be 10,000 at the end of the year. But there's also a real risk of it going back to 800, where it was at the beginning of 2017. Again, I think I'm optimistic personally. I'm investing, but as markets go down, you find it more fearful to invest, because when you see something going down from $20,000 to $3,000, it's hard to make decisions and invest more of your hard-earned fiat money into it. But I think from a brand perception, we're in a very different place than 2017. I think then in the beginning of 2017 in the Paris FinTech Forum, I would ask people like you mentioned, like Christine Lagarde, finance ministers around the world about Bitcoin and blockchain. They wouldn't have a clue what I'm talking about. Or if they had, they'll explain to me how dangerous it is and that maybe it's used for money laundering. But I think 2 years have passed, and now every single person involved in the finance, either government, banks, central banks, everybody understands today that the future is blockchain, that financial assets are going to move to the blockchain. And I highly believe that when more and more of the traditional financial services will move into the blockchain, eventually that will positively impact also the prices of the leading cryptocurrencies.
Okay, interesting. Thank you, Yoni ASSIA, for your time. So I let you continue. I guess you will go to many events. I mentioned one in France, but do you go all around the world to the big events?
Yes. Now, just next week, I'm in Singapore and Hong Kong for events. And we just looked at an event list of 34 different events in 2019, where I explained my team that I'm not sure I can go to all these 36 different events in different countries. So luckily, we're also already 620 people in eToro, so some other people will also go to these events. But I'm traveling a lot. I'm visiting our offices overseas, whether it's in the US or Australia or China or the UK. And we're growing rapidly, and we're very excited to see how 2019 connects the old world of financial services with the new paradigm of crypto assets in the blockchain.
Okay, and sorry, but just so you don't feel for the moment that the big institutional are ready to go to blockchain and to cryptocurrencies, because we see many big companies, big banks, etc., interested. But as you said, the currencies, the price are driven by the retails. Why the big ones don't go?
So big institutions are driven by fear of losing your job, and someone who needs to make investment decisions in a financial institution, or whether it's an asset manager or wealth managers, would usually first ask the question: is what I'm going to do can get me fired? And that's why most financial institutions in the world act like herds. So they're investing in the indices. They're investing in what everybody else is investing in, and because they want to sort of find stability. They want to find a bit of alpha to the existing markets, but they don't want to take significant amount of risk, because if they lose money of people who invest with them, they might lose their job. So that's a lot of institutional investing in very large, investment banks or wealth managers are very conservative. Most of them also, by the way, don't invest in a much less riskier asset class, which is VC, right? So VCs, while in the US, have been a very popular investment class for a while. Since the dot-com bubble in 2000, I think the investments in Europe of wealth managers and VCs haven't returned to those levels. So institutions are relatively conservative. They don't like to lose money, and they don't like to be considered stupid if something fails. And Bitcoin has the tendency, like a lot of people now who think they're smart are saying that they were right, that Bitcoin was a bubble and Bitcoin is a scam. Nobody wants to be on the other side of people saying something was scam and that they were right. And that's a big concern today of institutional investors. The second part is infrastructure. So even if you got this brave person, Fidelity is a great example of that. Fidelity is one of the largest asset managers in the world. It's owned by a family, so that family can make big decisions. They made a big decision. They went into crypto. They invested in crypto. They mined crypto. But even then, they found out, and other institutional investors found out, there's a big paradigm of lack of infrastructure, cyber risk, operational risks. So the way you manage traditional money and the way you manage crypto assets is very different. And even if you have brave investment managers that decide to take the chance to invest in cryptocurrencies, they don't necessarily have the ability to find the right custody, to get insurance. How do they hold significant amounts of assets in crypto? And again, when you think about a retail consumer investing $10,000 and putting it on a hard wallet and putting it in a safe, the worst case, he can lose $10,000, which happens a lot because, again, it's complex. People lose their private keys, something we at eToro try to mitigate. But when you think of an institution wanting to invest $300 million, it just doesn't feel necessarily right that the right way to do it is put $300 million on a USB key and put it in a safe, right? So you need infrastructure to manage significant amounts of investments into crypto assets. We at eToro invested a lot in our cold storage infrastructure, but we've also been dealing with crypto assets since 2010 and have a cybersecurity team that's very significant and understands how crypto assets work. So the lack of infrastructure and sort of the conservative nature of financial institutions is the main reason we don't see them getting in yet. What we are seeing is we're seeing a lot of financial institutions interested in the technology, in blockchain. So I think every single big French bank talks about the blockchain, probably has a blockchain team, but that is separate from crypto assets, and they try to keep it separate. So financial institutions right now are afraid of crypto assets, but they want to talk about the technology without the crypto assets, which, again, is a very interesting concept. We haven't seen it succeed yet. And there's a sort of a question of how much, a private blockchain led by banks can really disrupt the system that we're in.
Okay, I understand. Yes, that not everybody have interest to have a new organization and a new market, yes. So the big banks, etc., can be a bit afraid by it. But you work a lot on it since the beginning, and even when the markets go down, you still hodl and were clearly your idea. So I really enjoy this discussion to have your point of view, and I wish you the best for the next. See you soon. Perfect.
Thank you very much, and see you later this month in Paris.
Yes,
hope to see you there.
Forum.
Bye bye.
Bye.